born October 6, 1925, at Balnafad, and in the house at Route 1, Georgetown, actually, and lived there until I was married in 1945.
Do you still know some of the people who live there?
Oh yes, I know some, but they're dwindling. It's getting less all the time. To pinpoint who I know there now, it would be hard.
Are they people that you're related to, or friends, or extended family?
Neighbors. All the family have left that area.
Fix Windhurst and
Yes, Vic Swimmers. I wasn't thinking of him. Well, that's a hard question.
Birds. The people on the 6th line have stayed better, I think, than a lot of others. Harvey Burt's parents are mom was still in the house, I think. But
I think Harvey still lives there, maybe.
and Lois McLean is still in the house there, according to the Browns.
Really?
Well, that's what Helen said. Now she sounds. Dawn corrected her a couple of times, so she's starting to forget some things, I guess. But anyway.
I honestly can't say as I.
So it's hard to,
Yeah, it's hard to remember.
Well, hard to. We're not over there all the time.
The 6th, 7th, and 8th lines.
Yeah.
No, I'll have to go on from there. I don't.
Okay, it's no problem. Do you or did you have much family in the area?
Oh yes.
Some of the family.
Yes. My aunt and uncle lived up at on the 6th line and Peacock Side Road.
A mile north of Balnafad.
Yeah, sort of above Balnafad and to the west.
Apple Yards.
Yeah, Apple Yards and down below Silver Creek. That's my mother's half-sister and her husband and family.
Remember Grant Baker?
Oh yes, Grant Baker, yes. Has the service station
At Silver Creek.
at Silver Creek, yes. I'm sorry I haven't.
Oh,
Oh no, that's okay.
that's all right.
Um,
You just
how-
you remember. You don't have to worry.
How long has your family lived in this area, or?
Well,
in that
my
area?
parents came to Balnafad, to the farm there that was owned by the Campbells, and that was the same year as my brother Bud was born in 1919, and apparently it was that same fall they moved up there that he was born. So they had been there until Betty and Elwood moved away from the farm. I don't know what year that was, though.
No, I don't either. We moved into Eden Mills.
Do you
So
remember
the-
how
so
many
the
years
farm-
that you were in Eden?
Mm.
Do you remember how many years you were in Eden Mills?
Oh. No, I'm afraid I couldn't give you a good answer on that.
I think you must have moved out of there.
After Elwood died, I found I couldn't stay alone because Peter was still at home, but he was away left early, came home late and all that. And I went down to live with Nancy at near Hamilton. And that was fine for a while, but she had 5 children, and there was always somebody going to ball practice, or they had to pick somebody up at school, and they had to take somebody for an eye appointment or things like
Grand
that.
Central Station, like.
Yes, it was so busy. And I said to Nancy, "You'll have to find a place for me. I'm too much trouble here." So she took me up here to Eden House
I'll bet she said, "You're not too much trouble to me."
and took me up to Fergus to the home up there. But in that home, when you'd out the front door, you were right on the street.
Oh, yes.
And was I ever glad when a place came open here, where you could walk around.
Right. Agreed.
And we
So,
brought that plant in that's down in the activity room here. A big, I don't know what the name of it is, but it has the leaves are red and green, striped.
Multicolored, like.
Yes,
Is it a croton?
I don't know, it could be,
A leaf like this?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Pretty well like that. And sometimes the one I've got right now has very pale yellow leaves with red blotches on in one spot, and the rest are all green.
Oh,
So it varies, it
Yeah,
changes
this
color.
one varies too. quite a
yes,
bit.
it does.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a croton.
I wouldn't doubt it is.
okay, well, where did your family originally come from? Like, where did they live before they moved to the area?
Well, my father came from Milton area, and but he was a thrasher man and liked machinery, and he wanted to live out west, so he was out west after being in Milton. So to say exactly where he lived, I guess with Uncle Ed and the family.
So they lived there in the home farm,
And
or what became the home farm in Gramps' later years or late teens.
And my mother was between her relatives in a sense. She was with her grandmother and grandfather because her mother had died when she was 2-year-old, and so her sister and her brother, the family was divided up, and my mother went with her grandparents. Her sister, my aunt, went with the uncles and aunts up at the farm that I spoke about was my relative on the Peacock Side Road. So my mother worked between the grandparents' place and that place through her life.
Mhm.
She's always talked so much about that. She was a great one for helping out where she was needed. And then the grandmother died. And her aunt, the sister, Aunt Lydia, properly, helped to raise her. It was I think my mother got shifted around a bit in her growing years.
When you see, I was born down near past Cornwall, near the Quebec border, you see. And when I graduated from teachers college, I had to find a job. And I applied to two places where they wanted a teacher. One was up north, and the other was at Balnafad. And I never heard from the other one, but I was accepted there. And I started teaching there, and that's just how I got going.
Do you remember what year that was?
Oh,
I
How
would
old
say
would
it
you
was
be?
around 42.
it'll be in the early 40s, because I was married in 1945.
I would say 42 would be close. Because of things that happened in my life at the same
Yes,
time.
Yep, Aunt Betty stayed with Mom's family.
yes.
Oh, he did it.
In those days, they didn't provide a house for the teacher. Somebody in the community had to board the teacher. And that's where I met my husband and his brother.
At the breakfast table. I shouldn't say breakfast, it was at the kitchen table. Yeah.
Okay, well, what kind of work did everybody, did you mention that you were a school teacher?
Well, I never did have any job. I helped at home after I only went to school until I was, let me see, I passed my entrance, went half a year to Georgetown High School, then got sick and was traveling, commuting was difficult. So my mother went to our public school teacher. The attendance at the school was very low, and she said, "Would you guide me through the rest of grade 9?" And she said she would. So I went to the public school there, and she gave me grade 9. That's all the schooling I had. That was the end of mine. And my mother needed me at home. She needed
So
the help.
that was Muriel Crossman?
Yes. The teacher was Muriel Grossman.
And so she taught there right up till Aunt Betty came then.
Oh, yes,
Close?
I guess so.
I wouldn't be sure of that.
The other girls that I remember, that would be before you.
When Muriel Crossman was there? She would probably have finished then.
I remember that my salary was $700 a year,
Yes,
and that time
yes.
was quite a bit. And Mrs. Bennett, in her will, she left me $1,000.
Really? And that's
Well,
something.
I told you before, that was the war years, and Mr. Bennett had family still in, where they were fighting, and he phoned his brother to see if he would take his children and send them to school. And I had, the Bennetts had a house in Toronto too, and the older ones went to Toronto to
Continuation.
a high school or maybe college, I don't know. And the two young ones came to school with me, and that's why she left me the money.
Oh, yeah.
And they came out from Scotland, right? Those
Yes.
children? To stay here.
Whereabouts?
Or England, I think.
Well, I think the Bennetts were
Oh,
from Scotland. He
oh,
was
maybe
Scottish,
so.
right?
Maybe
Or she
so.
was. I don't know that one for sure.
So you taught two youngest Bennett? Did you teach the two youngest Bennett children?
Yes,
Not that much time to kill to clean up
Jill and
on
Pam.
that. I ran into it.
I remember their names. Jill and Pam, I bet you.
I ran into
Jill and Pam
Should be an option there.
and Nick.
Jill was one. Maybe it was Pam, I don't know.
Pamela. That's where you named one of your daughters from, Pamela.
No,
She must have had somebody else in mind as well.
Wasn't that the Pamela you named Pam from? I thought so.
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
remember now. I don't remember now that.
Oh,
I called her Pamela Jean, and Jean was it was Jean Lindsay was the nurse when Pam was born. So I put the Jean in her name.
Did you have Pamela Jean at home, or did you have to go in the hospital?
In the hospital.
You mentioned that somebody was from Scotland or England. What nationality do you associate yourselves with?
oh, Scotland and England. Yeah, and Ireland too. The British Isles.
British works. Is that the same? Is that the same with you? Okay. Well, might have answered this. Did you meet your husband in the Bonaparte area, or?
I met my husband in Milton at a 4-H. It was commencement for us, what they called commencement day. And then they always had a dance at night where the junior farmers joined. And they were presented their whatever certificates there were to be presented were done that at night. And I met him at the dance. But he was home on furlough from the army, from Halifax at the time. And he used to belong to junior farmers himself, so that's why he was there at the dance. And from there, the rest is history, as they say. But that's not giving you any information.
Do you have any children?
Oh, I have a few children, yes.
What are their ages and their names?
Their ages, well, Heather was born in 1945 on the 15th of January. Wayne was born, that's this guy here,